It is a pleasure to welcome author Andrew Neiderman right back to this table. Next year, Andrew will celebrate the publication of his 100th novel, and he is bringing his best-known novel and motion picture, The Devil's Advocate, to the musical stage in London. We'll find out more about Neiderman's busy schedule after this message. Well, you know, Andrew, before we talk about all your new novels, both the best-selling tomes written under your own name and the V.C. Andrews best-selling books, which you have the franchise to write, and of course, the 100th book is coming out this fall, although that's an Neiderman book, isn't it?
Yes, it's actually be January 1st.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about it later.
Okay.
But I want to talk about a musical theater version of The Devil's Advocate. When did you decide that this was something that should be done?
Well, I had a friend, a screenwriter friend of mine, who kept saying to me, you know, this really could work on the stage. And I kept thinking about it, and finally I sat down and I wrote the libretto, and it's basically based on the book with a different ending I wanted to do. And after I finished it, I got an email from a composer in Holland who asked me if he could develop The Devil's Advocate as a musical. And I said, oh my God, this is serendipity. Because
That's amazing.
I said, well, just coincidentally, I just finished writing a libretto, and I sent it to him. I said, why don't you try some of the music and let's see how we do. And so he did, and he sent me a CD of about 7, 8 songs.
70?
7 or 8.
Oh, no. 7 or 8, yeah. Pardon me.
Yeah. Well, 70 you could write, but you won't be able to use them.
No,
and they were good, and they were really good. It was really part of, you know, it had the tone of everything that I wanted. So we got together on it, and with an agent in Holland, and started to develop the production package. And sometime last year, I can't exactly remember exactly when, we had submitted it to a number of places in London, and the rival theater company in London said, we'd love to get involved in this and develop it with you guys. So we signed a contract with them, and that's how it all began.
That's just amazing. Now, you went to Holland to meet the composer, or was this all done? I mean, we're living in such an amazing electronic world.
Right. So, in the beginning, it was mainly emails and a couple phone calls, and the music being, actually, he emailed the music as well.
That's what I wondered.
But then we met in Europe and spent time together. Then we met in London, and then we met in London, actually, and had meetings with a number of production companies there before we settled in on the rival theater group.
Now, you told me, if I'm not mistaken, that he is a well-known composer.
Well, he worked
in Holland.
In Holland, he's well-known. He's a musician himself. He works in a company called Stage Holding, which is a major production company in terms of doing shows that are already written and produced somewhere else.
I see.
And what I was told by the agent in Holland was that in Holland, theater is as popular as our movies are here. And the theater stars are as well-known, celebrity-wise, as our movie stars. So at first I thought, well, we'd probably start in Holland. But it was always my idea to begin in London in an outside theater, develop it for a number of weeks, and hopefully do it successfully, and then get it brought into the West End. And once it's in the West End, and if it succeeds there, then you have the world.
Yes.
So basically, that was my idea. You know, I thought it would be less expensive to start that way. I mean, to try to get a show on Broadway directly is insane.
Well, you know, you have some of the music. So I'm going to ask if we can play a little of it.
Right.
We can't see it, but we can hear it.
Just to get an idea of the difference between this and the film. This is a lot more fun, a lot more satirical, and a lighter thing.
Yeah.
So it's the same setup, basically. We begin the musical, the libretto, with Kevin arguing a case in court, just like in the beginning of the movie and in the beginning of the book. He's instead of just having drama, though, the jury becomes a chorus and sings the verdict and sings why they voted to acquit his defendant.
Yeah.
And then a lawyer comes, just like in the book, and asks him to consider moving to New York to work for a firm called John Milton and Associates. Now, he's from a small area, so his wife is a little nervous about going to New York City, and he starts to talk to her and tell her this is something we should do, and we put that into a ballad.
Okay, we have a little of it. Yeah, maybe we can hear some of that now.
This is called New York Is Ours.
Okay.
Finally be the one that you always wanted to be. You're the kind of lady that everyone should see.
You were born a winner, and I always was impressed. But now you're gonna make it. You're going to be the best.
There's nothing that can
Okay,
stop
so
me.
basically what happens is the song, in the song they convince each other to take the chance to go to New York.
Yeah.
And he does go, and then he gets into the firm, and he meets the lawyers, and he meets John Milton, who we know as Satan. And the lawyers, then basically the devil then, the devil speaks directly to the audience. He's a really funny, charming character. And at one point, he sings this song, Good Has No Chance, and he explains why. And the reason why he feels that he will win is because of the 7 deadly sins. And what I did was I created, each sin is a secretary for Milton. And each one sings her song about her
Clever.
sin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Milton starts it off by singing, looking around and saying, let's see, what does God have and what do I have?
Yeah.
And then the beautiful 7 deadly sins come out.
And we have a little of that. Now, and I want to say, these are sort of demo. This is not
Right.
the way it's actually going to be done on the stage.
No.
I mean, later I know there's going to be a big album made. This is just to
This
hear
is
a
just to
little
get
of it.
people interested, you know, in
Yeah.
the theater companies and
Okay,
all that.
well,
yeah.
let's hear the devil.
Nothing's here, nothing's here. It's all an empty promise. Take it on faith, bow your head and pray that some accountant's tracking your good deeds each day. Nothing's here, nothing's here. It's all an empty promise. Charity, compassion, and all the neighbors' love gets you a place in heaven, some cloudy place above, where you can play a harp and sing with an angelic voice.
And what happens at this point is there's a lot of, this is a big choreographed number, you know, with the women. So they'll come out and they start singing about their sins and singing around the devil, and it's just a big jolly number. They're just so happy about what they can do to us. So after he does that, then Kevin meets the other attorneys, and then the lawyers, the group of lawyers that are his lawyers already, and I have them set up in it kind of looks like the Last Supper. And you know, with Satan in the middle, and then the lawyers begin to sing their strategy, and their strategy and what they believe is a lawyer's work is never done. And what they're telling us in this song is that if Adam had an attorney, that they could have kept him in paradise.
I love it.
So that's what this song is about.
Okay, so we can maybe hear even
Hear
a
a
little
little
of
tiny
that.
bit.
Thank you so much for making this available. And
Yeah, this is.
A lawyer's work
here we go.
is never done. A lawyer's work ain't just for fun. The greatest job that ever was. The planet spins because of us. For as long as Earth revolves around the sun, a lawyer's work is never done. Every form of life protected by us. We defend the case, but nobody does. No one would believe.
My composer, his name is Serif Drabeau, what he was able to do, since he worked with the theater there in Holland, was get, as favors to him, get the people who are actually in the musical theater in Holland to sing some of this.
That's
for
wonderful.
the demo, just for the demo for us.
Yeah.
So in this next number, it's basically what happens here is the same situation. Kevin's wife is naive. She's meeting these sophisticated women in New York, all wives of lawyers, and they're so busy. Milton keeps them all so busy. So she basically asks them, well, what do you girls do? What do we do while our husbands are out there working so much? And they come up with this idea. They sing, the lawyer's wives sing the number I call Shop Until You Drop.
I think there are women watching this show that kind of
So this is a really big fun number with these women.
would go along with that.
So we get a little bit of that, I think, now.
Yeah.
What does a girl do when her husband is away? She gets get so tired thinking how to spend each day. All those times you think that you will never survive. How can you be saved from eating chocolate all your life? Shop till you drop, designer clothes, whatever you got to try to keep up. No time to lose, buy those new shoes and shop. I never see my man, he's always on the clock. An opportunity. I call his secretary if I want to talk. He never brings presents home, oh, isn't it sad? Still, I have his credit card, so when I feel bad, I'll buy the things I never had. Shop till you drop. Shop till you drop. Whatever you got to try to keep up. Try to keep your head up high. Don't go for less. No, no. Shop till you drop. Just lose that sweater, baby. You got to try to keep up. Keep it on so high. Buy those new shoes and shop.
We will talk to Andrew Neiderman again in a few seconds. We will hear maybe one more song. I think there are 19. We're not going to
Yes,
hear them all. There are
right.
19 songs,
These just
and
cuts, right.
I love a show, a musical that really has wonderful songs in it. So I'm excited, very excited about it. We'll save one more of the many songs in The Devil's Advocate, the show musical, for later. We might even play at the very end of the show over the credits.
Yeah, what I liked about it, the fact that he understood is that these songs are helping to tell the story.
Yeah.
And in any story, and especially in The Devil's Advocate, you have an attorney who has an arc in the storyline where he realizes he's in with bad people, and how does he get himself out of it at this point? So there's a number that he sings that's just dynamite when he realizes he's got to get out of this. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, his unsophisticated wife becomes very sophisticated and becomes Madam Manhattan. And that's the piece of that song that you'd hear.
Hear later.
And the background for all that, when she sings, are the 7 deadly sins, almost like a background rock and roll group. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of fun. It's a light concept. The devil is charming. He speaks directly to the audience. He tells them basically that he's going to win, and then when he gets defeated in the musical, he comes back out and he says, "Well, what do you want? It's a Hollywood ending. You guys all love Hollywood endings." So, but I'm still here, and so it's got all that humor in it. It's got the lightness. It's got the great music, and hopefully we'll have a great choreographer, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting is that the rival theater group thought it would be good for a promotion and to actually help raise funding for the show by making an album ahead of time.
Well, they've done that with a lot of London shows.
Yeah. So we're going to make the album in August and September, and we've gotten the BBC musical department interested. Great. And part of that department, one of the persons in that department is Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter,
Yeah,
Una
you
Chaplin.
mentioned that.
Yeah, so it's kind of exciting. Hopefully they'll come aboard on that, and we'll get that done, and then we'll make the deal with the rival theater, and we'll see what happens. As Shakespeare said, it's in the womb of time, so we'll see what happens. It's the development of a major thing, and it takes time.
Well, I remember one of the shows where that was done was Andrew Lloyd Webber and Elmer Rice's Chess. Uh-huh. And my daughter Anne and her husband got the album before they saw the show and just fell in love with it, and because of that went to see the show.
Yeah,
so it's,
the show will have its own album afterward, but
right.
this is basically a promotional thing, and it'll have good singers and everything. It'll be great. And
you're not ready to talk to backers yet?
Well, he'll start talking to them soon now.
Yeah.
One of the things there's a major management firm in London that is interested in being the management firm for it, but they're waiting to see if we can get some named star to be in, at least for the 6-week run. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. I've sent it out to a few of them. There's always interest by actors in playing Satan. I don't know why. They all love that idea.
Yeah.
So I need a good actor who's also a song and dance man. There's a few out there that I'd like to see.
I mentioned one to you earlier.
Yeah. I know. I'm sending them out too. You know.
Well, I'm sure you sit there and think of them. You know, you
Yeah.
can't help it.
We'll see what happens. You know, if we get a bite on one of them or two of them. I know my friend Robert Loju wants to be in it, and he's definitely committed to do it.
What would he do?
He could play the devil's chief attorney easily. You know, and.
And now, how long, I wonder, has it been since he's been on the stage?
Oh God, he started out on Broadway.
So many actors
Yeah,
have.
he worked. You know, he learned at the Stella Adler School and became an actor on Broadway, and from there moved into movies. But basically, he has a love of theater, and you know, hopefully that could happen, at least for a 6-week run.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I did meet with the Neiderlander agent, and he told me an interesting thing. He said they're not so interested in having big name stars in shows necessarily because audiences expect they'll be there all the time. You know, and they might leave after 6,
That's
8
right.
months,
That's
and
right.
you've already bought a ticket like
Yeah.
10 months later, and that
Yeah.
star is not going to be in the show. So there's advantages and disadvantages. But in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's an advantage because it helps raise the funding and get the show
Right.
off the ground.
But of course, you also have a property that not only was a big-selling book, but became a tremendous hit as a motion picture.
Yeah, it's
so
got a great
people
cachet.
I think, would want to see it.
Well, I don't. That's right. I think the advertising is just the title, The Devil's Advocate, and it's worldwide. So, you know, we're hoping if it takes off there, we can go into other countries like Germany, France, Belgium, you know, those places,
course.
and see what happens. So, at least we know that we have that a known entity in the sense of it. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, doing theater, I guess, is new for you.
Well, when I was a school teacher, I directed 39 full-length productions.
Really?
And I did community theater. So I kind of always had a love of theater. To be honest with you, I'd rather do theater than film.
Yeah,
Because there's something about a
interesting.
live audience.
Yeah.
It's just more excitement, you know, to me. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can make this jump and
Yeah.
do this thing.
Well, we all are with you on that.
Well, thank you.
I know. And your 100th book is coming. We're going to talk about that and also some books that are coming out very soon.
Right.
Because you're always writing books.
They're out there.
And they're always big sellers. We'll return to you, but first, these messages. Okay. I want to go to London when it opens.
Oh, you will know. Don't believe me. If that happens,
I will.
the scream
your
from
clack is going
the
to follow
scream from
you.
me will wake a lot of people up. So don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You'll be
Okay, now your 100th book is coming out in January.
It's called Guardian Angel, and it's being published by Dorchester. They were unaware.
Now, is that an Andrew Neiderman under
Yes,
your
that's
name?
an Andrew Neiderman.
And I say for those who may not know that you also, here's your V.C. Andrews book, The Heavenstone Secrets. This comes out in
September.
September.
Right.
And for those who don't know, you write both the books in your own name and also the franchise of V.C. Andrews.
Yeah.
And they're always bestsellers.
Well, I've been writing them since 1987, and they've always been New York Times bestsellers and worldwide books. We're in 95 countries with 105 million books, 22 languages. So it's been an exciting journey, you know, to do that. And it's always wonderful to go to these countries and meet people, like publishing people, and to realize that a good story will sell in any country in the world.
But you know, I'm curious, lifestyles have changed tremendously since you first started writing.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering how those are reflected in your books, are they?
You got to what I call push the envelope, you know, so that there's actually an arc in the writing of the books. It's like there is in character development. So I try to keep in my mind how this would have developed, you know, if she had done it. And basically,
V.C. Andrews.
the actual V.C. Andrews, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, the books now are a lot more contemporary, and I think the style is different, a little bit different, but I think that only would have happened. There's an evolution to any writer in terms of how he or she develops. It happened to me in my own writing, and I think that's what I have to pay attention to, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay, now I'm wondering about the Kindle.
A Kindle?
Yeah.
I think the whole publishing industry is kind of
It's
in
all
a
changed,
flux. Yeah.
changing.
Well, the downloading, the Kindles, that whole technology, no one is really sure yet how this is going to impact. But Kindle is coming out with an even bigger screen, the possibility of downloading newspapers. So people would use a Kindle for their newspapers. It's just going so fast that no one really knows how to put their hands around it. But you have e-books. You have people downloading the novels and reading them on their computers.
Now, are you protected for that? When
Yeah,
people
there is.
do that?
There's electronic. In any contract, you have your electronic, attachment to it. They're not happy with what's going on with it. There's big debates about it, in terms of the publishers obviously don't have to put out ink and paper. So they have a lower cost, and yet that's not reflected in the royalties that the writers will get. So there's a little bit of argumentation there. But it's a worldwide thing, and it's almost impossible to protect. I'll never forget when I did the movie Rain, I had screenings all over LA to get distributors interested. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, I had a friend call me from the Grand Cayman and she told me she just bought my movie on the street. And I said, that's incredible. I mean, it was ripped off right away and taken down, sold. So it's really difficult.
You're working on a couple of other movies, too.
Yeah, well, we're developing the Flowers in the Attic, which was the original V.C. Andrews novel and was the fastest selling paperback original in history. And it's still selling all over the world. There was a movie made of it years and years ago, and it wasn't successful in terms of its quality and in terms of what it could do. There's always been a drive to remake it. So I rewrote the screenplay. I wrote the screenplay with a production company, and MGM is involved with us. And basically we're down to them just getting the schedule together on that, and we were hoping to start in July. But with the recession and all, it's been a little bit difficult to see where we're going. But that's going to happen.
We're out of time, and I'm curious about something. You're writing young adult V.C. Andrews.
Yeah.
Now, is that like Twilight? All the young people are reading. Is that the idea?
Actually, right now in the book industry, the YA books, we call them, young adult, are the hottest thing going. And it was my idea to start with a younger audience with V.C. Andrews and have them build into the adult books. And my publishers agreed, and I'm going to New York shortly to work on the plots for those, and we're going to develop 4 YA books, young adult books, under V.C. Andrews franchise.
Now, you have a family, and you have your daughter and the teacher and so. Do you talk to them to get the young ideas, or your grandkids?
I've been using my granddaughters now.
Okay.
Especially for the YA books. Well,
that's what I meant.
One of my granddaughters, Hannah, is a voracious reader, and they all read Twilight.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're reading all my V.C. Andrews books, so I test out stuff on them. It's really interesting.
All right. As a former English teacher, which you were first, does Twitter and all these things that are happening, which is destroying the English language, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, it's hard. I can't imagine what it is to be an English teacher right now, because of the way the language is being squashed.
Yeah.
But, you even see it in professional. I hear mistakes like crazy on TV with commentators, and you don't know how it's happening to the English language grammar-wise. Yeah. So basically, I don't know what will happen there. But
it's going to be interesting.
It is. We're abbreviating our life.
We are. Yeah. I want to thank you for being with us.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I'm so happy that this will be a musical and a successful musical.
Well, hopefully.
The Devil's Advocate. I just know it will.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, and my best to your family. And we hope that you, our viewers, will be back with us next time right here for more of Conversations with Gloria Greer.
Of course, I'll always stay the same. Despite all my fortune and fame, life has given me the things I crave.